Nothing?
You're talking Evening, everyone. The Bellefonte Borough Council Virtual Council Meeting of May 4th, 2020 is called to order. We'll stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for the emergency responders, grocery employees, other essential workers, and people who have lost their jobs or have had to pay cuts due to the COVID-19 emergency that we are currently experiencing. And you can see the flag in Ralph's little picture. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Eaton,
Here.
Ms. Homboski,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Here.
Mr. Prendergast,
Here.
Ms. Thompson,
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
I'm here.
Ms. Walker,
I'm here.
Mr. Brackbill,
Here.
Ms. Cleaton,
Here,
Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Great. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make
I'll
the
make the motion.
minutes, Brackville.
I'll second that.
Brackbill, and who's the other one?
I think it was me, Eaton.
John.
Okay.
I have a change.
Oh, okay. What's your change, Tom?
On the mayor's report, the last paragraph, the name of the business that did the display down in the park for the frontline people is Holo Vision, H-O-L-O Vision, not Hello Vision,
Okay.
like holograms.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Any other changes?
There's a mere slip of a finger.
Seeing none, can we vote with that one as amended on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There are no consent agenda items, so we'll move on to written communications.
Sure. The first one is from, is addressed to the borough and I guess all the municipalities and the county government. It's a request to consider a petition to have a moratorium on rent payments, mortgage payments, utility payments due to the COVID-19 crisis. It's up to you what you want to do with it.
So basically when I read it, it looks like the petitioners are asking us to pass a resolution calling on the Pennsylvania General Assembly to extend the moratorium on evictions until the emergency declaration ends. Does anyone want to make such a motion?
I agree with it in principle, but I see problems.
Joanne, I will make the motion so we can discuss this, that we provide a, what do we want to call it here? That we provide the resolution to ask to extend the moratorium on rental.
Rental evictions, okay. Second,
I'll second it.
who was that?
And
Ann?
It was Gina and myself.
And
You take
Walker?
it, Ann. Okay.
Okay. There are two questions that I have about this. And I think this is where you were coming, Mike, when you said you were a little bit confused.
no, I wasn't confused.
There, in the letter, they went through multiple different scenarios. One of them they did talk about was the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has already ordered a moratorium through April 30th that would be extended through the So I'm not sure what this additionally would do. But in addition, the other ideas they came up with, and I couldn't understand if they were asking us to call on any of these or just ask the General Assembly to look at all the options and come up with something. They included calling for us for a rent freeze. In other words, no rental increases at this time. A cancellation of all rents and mortgage payments during the COVID-19 emergency for everyone, which is what a federal bill would do, or for making a cancellation for those with less than a certain annual income, which is something that came out of Florida, or a rent forgiveness program that people can apply for, or were they just asking us to have the General Assembly address this issue via resolution? I don't know what it is they're asking for, so I'm not sure where we could go on this.
I would agree. It was very broad. It even included utility payments. And from our perspective, we have ongoing expenses. You know, we have operations, we have employees, we have light bills.
As good.
If we were not to have income, you know, we would be in serious trouble. So right from the beginning, back in March, when this hit our area, we right away agreed that we would not shut off or terminate service to any utility customers. We would work with every utility customer that had payment issues. And thank goodness to date, there's only been a handful of customers who really said, you know, they're really in a jam. They need some help. And we have worked with every single one of those accounts. So I just want to make it clear, you know, if there was a moratorium, you know, we still have a operating water system. I mean, people want water, and that costs money to produce. There's chemicals, there's required tests, there's things that have to be done to make that happen. Same way with wastewater processing. That doesn't happen by itself. If payments were to stop, we'd be in serious trouble. So I want to emphasize that.
I would vote no on this motion only because I'm not clear as to what they're asking for. But in addition, later on in the agenda, Don is going to be talking about a CDBG grant that might help with this issue. And I don't want to mix issues because that's a much broader program than what this group is asking for.
Okay, I'll get to that shortly.
It's Randy. I kind of agree. I'm not sure. There's a lot of things you can pick and choose out of this letter and some of the options that are there. When I looked over the fact sheet, I was not in favor of that universal programs that did not require proof. That just didn't make any sense. If anybody can get in there and get it.
Breaking up, Randy.
I was concerned about number 3, where it talks about the universal programs. They didn't require any kind of proof that a tenant was lost their job due to coronavirus or not. There was no reasoning for it. So I didn't agree with that one. And I agree with Ralph about the utility payments. We need to keep the water running and also the other services that we provide. Trash removal, everything that we do for the residents. So I'm in favor of kind of redoing this a little bit and make it fit a little bit better for Bellefonte, not make Bellefonte so much responsible for it, because there was some cost, some dollars in the letter, I believe, as well, that, whether it's federal, state, or local, we really don't have anything local that we can use money-wise. So I don't want to get us into a position where we commit to money and we don't have it.
So Randy, are you asking for tabling of this motion for further discussion with this group to bring back to a next meeting?
Unless we have to vote, do we have to vote it up or down yet, or can we just table it?
We can table it.
All right, I'll make a motion then that we table this.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Randy, and who tabled? Who's second?
I believe it's Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just too broad. Just doesn't, it's not
It doesn't have enough detail. It says funds should be created to cover losses. Well, where are these funds going to come from? How are they going to create them? Those are the kinds of things that I would wonder about.
Right.
So I think what we'll be doing is we will vote to table. There isn't any discussion. If this group wants to have further discussion, they need to give us more detail before we can take it off the table. So all in favor of tabling, say aye.
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 All opposed? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item.
Sure, next item is the Elks Club always does the annual Flag Day ceremony in Talleyrand Park. And obviously with the COVID-19 restrictions, they're uncertain as what they're going to do, and they're putting together a backup plan. And that would be having CNET air a combination of past ceremonies with maybe some updated footage. And of course, the way CNET works is they have to have a municipal sponsor. And the letter is asking Bellefonte Borough to be the municipal sponsor for the CNET special program.
Actually, the request is to sponsor 1/4 of the cost per airing. It's not the full cost. So I need a motion to co-sponsor 1/4 of the cost of airing the Elks Club's virtual Flag Day ceremony on CNET on June 14th. If we're still under the yellow's code at that point in time.
I'll make that motion.
Prendergast,
I'll
Yeah.
second that motion, Haboski.
Prendergast and Haboski. Discussion?
Do we have any idea what the cost is?
I'm not sure what a quarter is. You know, it's a formula. They take all the programs that are aired and they divvy up their budget based on a,
Okay.
program credit. I don't have exact numbers, but it's always kind of a moving target. They use past year averages, but I don't think it's like outrageous or anything.
No, it's like 5 years, they look back and
Yeah.
average it out over the 5 years. So 1/4 of a show is almost nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
If we're associated with the Elks in any way, do we need to recuse ourselves from voting?
I don't
Yes.
think so. There's no direct financial benefit to you, or if there is, then I would abstain. It has to be personal financial gain.
I'm
Are
a
you an
member.
officer?
I am
Are
a
you an
member. I am a member. Not a general member of the Elks Club.
I am as well.
So does that mean I cannot vote?
My non-legal opinion is it shouldn't matter because you're not going to gain personally, financially from your vote.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The next letter or the next information is about a PowerPoint program received from Center County Commissioner's Office. And I believe Joanne is going to summarize that.
Yes.
She's bringing it up on the screen.
Can you see it all?
Yes.
Except
We
for
all
the-
sort of saw it in our packet.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is for the public's use. I cut out some of the slides just so that it would go a little bit quicker.
It's up there. There it is.
Okay, you all ready? Okay, so basically, last week, Center County Planning Office sent us this presentation talking about reopening Center County as a result of Governor Wolf's order of the red, yellow, and green reopening of the Commonwealth. And as this first slide says, it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It will go slowly. Okay. So on May 1st, golf courses, marinas, guided fishing trips, and privately owned campgrounds reopened. And if you went grocery shopping over the weekend, you saw that the golf courses were quite full. Then this was On April 22nd, he announced that Center County, in part of the North Central region, was moving to the yellow zone on May 8th. Meanwhile, construction's restarted this morning. What we've been in since the middle of March is what is called the red phase, where life-sustaining businesses, congregate care, restrictions were in place, and schools and most childcare facilities were closed. There are stay-at-home orders, large gatherings are prohibited, restaurants and bars are limited to carry out and delivery only, and only travel for life-sustaining purposes was encouraged. And in addition to that, about 2 weeks ago, everyone was required to start wearing masks out in public. With a change on May 8th, we're moving to what's called the yellow phase, which means that if you can telework from home, you need to continue doing that. Businesses that have in-person operations must follow the safety orders, which include the 6-foot social distancing, preferably holding curbside deliveries only. Childcare centers can be open, but they have to provide masks and building safety, cleaning, and all that kind of stuff. Congregate and prison restrictions still remain in place, and schools still cannot reopen. For yellow, instead of 10 people for gatherings, is expanded. You can have up to 25 people. Indoor recreational health and wellness programs such as gyms, spas, and all entertainment, including theaters, movie houses, are remain closed, and restaurants and bars are still limited to carry out and delivery only. Oops, back up one. So, the reason Center County qualified was that we have enough testing available for individuals with symptoms of COVID-19 to be tested. Because of Penn State University, we have the contact tracing infrastructure available, and and the county has identified the high-risk settings that include the correctional institutes, the personal care homes, nursing facilities, and other congregate settings, and have assurance from these facilities that they put adequate safeguards in place so that we can open up. So what this means is that, in other words, we've had a leveling of our cases. We have testing available, we have contact tracing available, and we have safeguards for high-risk settings. For those who don't know what contact tracing is, it's a public health program in which when someone tests positive for a communicable disease, that person is interviewed to find out who they've had contact with. There's a very detailed interview where they ask lots and lots of questions, and where'd you go, and who did you see, and who might have talked to you, and so that they can get contact to follow up with those people. You are then put under a quarantine, and all of your contacts are then contacted, had the same review, and asked to be quarantined for 2 weeks. So Mountain Indian Medical Center, the Penn State College of Medicine, and Geisinger all had the protocols here in Center County. Primary concerns, again, are public health, business closures, and long-term unemployment. And the green, yellow, and red is kind of a balancing act to try to make sure that we don't have any more people die without hurting the businesses more than they have to be. So basically, Center County's health is now in your hands, and what you as the public can do is to continue maintaining a distance of at least 6 feet from other individuals. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as frequently as possible, or use hand sanitizer if soap and water isn't available. If you have to cough or sneeze, do it into your sleeve or elbow, not into your hands. Don't shake hands. Regularly clean your high contact surface areas. That include things like your cell phones, your tables, your bathrooms, your spigots, things like that. When you're sick, stay at home and do not gather in groups larger than 25 people, including for business meetings or events. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Where's all the testing?
You would give a call to your doctor and then the hospital and would then set that up for you.
Only if you have symptoms.
Yes, you have to have a doctor's order to get the test, yes.
So in other words, it's not much.
I guess,
And the governor said that if our numbers start going back up, we'll go back into the red again.
Yeah.
So that's why each and every one of us needs to do our bit to make sure that doesn't happen.
Understood, but we still have no idea who's infected.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I say. It's a guessing game.
There's a letter at the end of our, in our new business, talking about a survey study that's going to be coming up. And we can talk about that then, but that might help to some extent, but it's not going to help immediately.
yeah, I just sort of feel there's a little bit of, you can tell people not to have meetings of more than 25 people, but at the same time, you're telling them that you want them to be 6 feet apart, and you're still advising them to wear a mask. I mean, I did my walk today around town, and we have there's a construction crew doing line work down the line that runs up, I think, High Street, power line. They're not our crew, but they are a crew. And I think I saw one out of maybe 10 people that had a mask on, and they were periodically within contact closer than 6 feet. I watched a roofing crew with one out of 6 guys with a mask on, periodically in contact. And I saw a food pantry where the workers putting out the food were in relatively close contact, and none of them had a mask on. And so it's,
We can expect to go back to red.
well, I'm a little concerned that people
We're still in red right now, and that's concerning.
but I'm concerned that people will think that they can get within the close proximity of one another without a mask. And that's the wrong takeaway from the opening up message in my mind. But we can't do anything about that. I'm just venting.
I think you're correct, John. I think no matter whether we're in the red or the yellow, you still need to wear a mask. You still need to stay 6 feet away. And if you do have a meeting, you need to do the social distancing in that meeting, which is one of the reasons why we don't hold this meeting in our council chambers, because it's almost impossible for us to have each of us 6 feet apart in that room. It's just too small.
I agree with you completely, Joanne.
Moving right along.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move on down to the next item here under correspondence. That is a letter from Center Region Code that does our inspections. They're starting up with new inspections or new fixtures, new building inspections this week. And then next week will be what they call existing structures or rental properties. So they'll slowly get geared up. They'll be rescheduling those appointments that they missed and going in about their business there. That's a notification of that. I think we mentioned this the last meeting, but we certainly want to get the word out that the recycling at curbside has resumed. It's available. It started last week. So whatever normal day is, put your recycling out, it should be picked up. So that's back in business. There's a letter request to use Governor's Park ball field. We've had, a number of these lately. This one speaks to showcasing some of the high school athletes or college prospects, and they're asking to use the ball field a couple nights a week in May, and maybe possibly on the weekend as well. They claim that they checked with the school, and the school says they're okay since school is out right now. So it's up to council. The letter says that they will maintain or abide by the COVID-19 restrictions, the yellow, no more than 25 people, gatherings of more than 25 people.
I talked to Don this morning
Mhm.
because we still have the other one that's pending
Yes.
from the for-profit. And so what I think would work well for both of these is, rather than taking that motion off the table, is to create a new motion where, since Don did check with the school district and both of them have been cleared for the use of the ball field.
Hello, this is Tom. Hello.
Yes, Tom.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got a phone call and it dropped me out of the meeting. I didn't take the phone call, but then I couldn't get back on. So I'm back. I guess I missed the mayor's report unless someone filled
no.
it.
We haven't gotten there yet. Just hold on.
Well, I thought you were a council president down below the mayor's report.
No, we're in the written communications right now.
All right, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the Bellefonte Area School District has cleared both groups to use the ball field. So rather than removing the old motion from the table, I suggest doing the following: have someone motion to approve both ball field requests with the following conditions. The two groups need to communicate with each other this week and come up with an agreement as to the dates and times each of them will have access to the ball field, and will then let the borough know the schedule for each group. Secondly, they will both provide proof of liability insurance. Third, they will pay the appropriate fees for the number of days each group will be using the field. Fourth, they will follow the state COVID-19 guidelines for group gatherings. And finally, understand that the borough can cancel the event if needed to follow the emergency COVID-19 declarations of the state, county, and borough.
So let me clarify. You mentioned about the fee. Are you saying the same fee that a tournament would pay, that these?
If it's a nonprofit group, they can request a waiver.
Okay,
For a for-profit, they have to pay the fee.
okay.
In
Well-
both instances, these are not for profits.
Well, they're non-for-profit, but when you look at the organization, Don, it seems to be more or less almost a national, or at least the Northeast region of traveling baseball.
Wait, hold on a
teams.
second. Let's have a motion first and then we can discuss.
Agree.
Okay.
Doug
make-
motioned.
Make the motion, or unless Doug wants to, I don't care.
Doug raised his hand. Doug, and so Mike's second. Go ahead.
Doug,
Well,
you're on mute. Oh, you were.
yeah, I know. I was just saying, wow, let's hold the show here a minute.
Okay.
All this stuff going on. I sort of agree with Mr. Eaton, this club baseball organization. Are you sure this is not a for-profit tournament or event? This is, I know it's a practice session, but are these like a traveling team that
They're
participates?
Doug, they're a traveling team that are chartered under a nonprofit heading.
Based in
However-
Bellefonte or not?
No, this is nationally. This,
Well, then
well, at least why it's the Northeast region.
Right.
This is with, what was the name of the
baseballupa.com. If you go to their website, you can check it
Yeah.
out. Club baseball organizations.
Yeah, and you can go to the baseball.com, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Right.
And they all work in concert with one another, basically as a farm team into either the college ranks or into, what is it, Series A minor leagues. And so, I mean, it really is, they call themselves a nonprofit, but it's really part of the sports industry.
FYI, our nonprofit exemption is only for Bellefonte-based nonprofits. So if it is outside of Bellefonte, they have to pay the fee.
Yeah.
I see the scheduling. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
But it
go ahead.
says they plan to use the field the weekend. I'd like to start practicing the weekend of May 9th and 10th.
Mhm.
We have a field reserved for practice for this summer. They don't say what field it is, but it will not be ready until the beginning of June. So I'd like to hold some practices throughout May in order to jumpstart our players' development and give them a head start on the competition.
So Doug, that's why the part of the motion was that they need to talk to the other group because they wanted it approximately the same time.
Well, I thought the other group wanted it in July for a tournament that we're looking at. Wasn't that a tournament for July?
I think that's right, Doug. That was in July.
I think you're right.
So I don't see the conflict.
Hold on here, Doug.
Okay.
You're referring to a different letter from a different organization. This is the one that we're referring to here is the letter from Josh Brown that was talking about a junior American Legion team, and then in March he had come to council and made the request to use the field, and council's direction was go back and get approval from the school. So this doesn't have anything to do with the Mazzolo tournament. That's a whole separate issue. These are two separate organizations that you're talking about tonight.
I think I'm looking at the same one Mr. Eaton's looking at, Nate France.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I think
That is one that we are talking about. They want to use it for practice.
Okay, Mike wants to say something. Go ahead, Mike.
Go Sport.
there's the one that we tabled last month.
No.
Sure.
Yes.
That's the other one that you're talking about, isn't it, Joanne?
That is correct. The one that was tabled in March.
right.
Right,
Wasn't
and
that Go Sports?
she's trying to connect that one and this one together.
Correct.
So that it has, I'm confused. I don't have the other one in front of me, so I can't speak to their schedule. But as long as these two guys the two that Joanne's talking about, as long as they can work out a schedule, and if they're needed at the same time frame, and they're willing to pay the fees, I'm all for it.
The one that Don is talking about is Junior Legion baseball. They asked starting in March in evenings after varsity practice from approximately 6 until dark. Also the weekends from 12-2 or 12-4 for practice. Our season runs from April into the beginning of August with the games to be played on Tuesday and Thursday. This was from the 3/2/20 meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the team that Joanne is referencing in her motion.
Okay.
And isn't that part of Go Sports? If I remember that being on that letter.
I have no idea.
Hold on.
It's not important, but I thought for some reason that sticks in my head.
This had no letterhead at all. It was just a letter on black on white. I think the one that is from our last meeting or the meeting before that we were talking about, that was on letterhead. This one was not.
Another question. So who grooms the field for these events? Does the borough or does the school district?
The school district only does it for high school games, Doug, and the borough does not groom the field. Whatever team is playing, it's their responsibility to groom it, line it.
So will we mow the grass?
Oh,
I'm not sure. I think there are times where Rodney tells me he does mow it, and sometimes I know during the school year the school's responsible for maintenance, but non-school activities, I do think our guys do it.
So do we know if the field is ready?
That's where I'm going towards. We made an agreement with the school district to prepare the field for their play, and there has been no play this year. So are we doing that now? Are we responsible for that now?
good question.
Well, these were questions that I had when we signed the lease with the school district. So if it's still the school year, but school is canceled, where are we at and what expenses do we have?
Good point.
If the school isn't using the field, that's why they're deferring to these other two groups and allowing them to use the field. If they use it for games, which looks to me, the way I read both of them is pretty much practice time, not games. But if they were going to use them for games, then they would have to take care of it. But I do think that right now, I don't even know, we don't have our parks crew mowing out at Governor's Park. So I'll have to defer to Ralph. I don't know whether our guys are mowing Governor's Park or not.
Hold on your mic, Ralph.
Thanks. I was listening to everybody. So anyway, our regular full-time staff is pitching in to cut the grass as needed, where needed. So likely they're taking care of it. I don't know if they're doing the ball field or not, to be honest with you. But I do know they're taking care of Governor's Park, just like Talleyrand Park or any of the other parks we have.
So we still have the one in July that we sent a letter to with having the right to cancel it if things do not change.
That's correct.
So that's 2 months out. This one's only a couple weeks away, even maybe a week away.
Yeah.
And I think it's too
It's
soon.
the end of this week. It's the end of this week. It's the 8th and the 9th.
I don't know if there's any other baseball going on anywhere at this point, and I think it's too soon to just jump into it after the 8th, just because you're allowed to. We might not be prepared. The field's not prepared, but I'm still. How are they going to do this? I know I went golfing yesterday. There was touchless golf basically. So how are they going to handle this on a ball field? Is every batter going to have their own bat? How are they going to run the bases if they're running base practice and stuff like that? I don't know how they're going to practice distancing on a ball field. Unless you're in the outfield, then you got it.
You've got nine guys on the field at least.
Yeah.
And usually there's enough for a second string plus pitchers.
And you can't.
Plus coaches, plus parents.
Somebody.
You're near 25 just with the team and coaches.
And you closed the playground equipment for the same reason.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that was the other point that Melissa brought up, that if the playground equipment's closed, that includes the ball fields. So far, that's still closed, because even after the 8th, again, we're not prepared to even prep the equipment in the other parks. So
that was my point, Randy. The field is not playable. Well, I haven't been out there, but I assume it's not playable. And does that mean our borough employees are going to jump away from whatever their responsibilities are now and run out and groom the field in preparation for this weekend?
No, you know, we're thinned. We're very thin right now.
I'll be mean and call the question because I think we are pretty much at consensus that
Is there any objection to calling the question?
Could you just repeat the motion again?
Okay, the motion was that these two groups communicate with each other this week and come up with an agreement as to the dates and times each will have access to the ball field, and will let the borough know the schedule for each group. They will both provide proof of liability insurance. They will pay the appropriate fees for the number of days each group will be using the field unless they are a Bellefonte Borough based nonprofit. They will follow the state COVID-19 guidelines for group gatherings, and they will understand that the borough can cancel the event at any point.
I think, not to interrupt Joanne, but to make it real quick, I think if you look at the yellow, I'm pretty sure of this, it says no organized sports are allowed in the yellow time.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we're not even in the yellow yet. We plan to be on May
Okay.
8th, on the
That's-
8th. But if you look at the criteria for yellow, no organized sports are allowed in yellow. So that answers the
Yes.
question.
That
for me.
answers the question.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't have any more comments. So all in favor of this motion, say aye. All opposed? Nay.
Yay.
Aye.
So unanimously fails.
Too early.
One can use the ball field.
Too early.
May
Can
I
I ask
say
Wait,
one? Go ahead, Gina.
I just, because of all this, I got a little confused. Have we already approved Josh Brown in the Junior American League? Do we need to like contact them and say?
We haven't approved
that
anybody,
they are-
no.
Okay, okay.
We just
Yep.
need, we
'Cause that
need
was-
to notify them that because we're going to be in the yellow, that, and the state has said that no organized sports can be handled during the yellow phase. We are not allowing the ball field to be used.
Okay.
We did approve the one in the end of July from good
Yes.
with conditions that we could stop if necessary.
Right.
And that if we're still in yellow in July, that's an easy. call.
Right. Then we would need to cancel that too.
So, yeah, the one we have approved for July is Good Sports,
Right,
Missoula. That was Bill Missoula.
correct.
I never
Doug, whoever you-
saw the other one you're talking about.
Okay, so moving on.
All righty.
Joanne, I have one more comment. So could I suggest, and maybe it's already done, to review our policy on the field maintenance in the interim between the high school and the borough? Is that, I'm asking, is that clear to everybody, to our administration? Is it clear, Ralph, to you and Dawn and the staff of how that's supposed to work?
I
It
probably
gets-
should review it. I mean, we only dust it off from, maybe once a year. So I'd be happy to review it and provide a copy to everybody.
I just want you to feel comfortable and the staff to feel comfortable that we're covering, excuse the cliche, all the bases. We had agreed that they would build new bleachers, a new scoreboard,
Right.
take care of the field, a new fence. And now with this COVID-19, that's all gone. And we're sort of out in the smoke somewhere. I just want to make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. So we don't have these questions come up every time somebody wants to use the field other than the school district. I thought it was, so for me, it was from April to June, the school district is the overseer of the field and scheduling. And after June, we are in charge of
think that-
maintenance.
That in a normal year, I believe that's correct, but this is a very
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Well, I'll definitely review it. Like I said, it's been probably a year or so, but yeah, I'll review it and put some comments in the next packet.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ralph.
Sure. Ready to move on?
Yes, go ahead.
Next item is an email we received from a local food establishment concerned about the allowance of food trucks, mobile vendors on public streets. Primarily is what I read out of the email. And would the borough, during these tough times, consider suspending any ordinance that allows them on public streets? Of course, some are on private property, so he's not speaking of that. He's speaking of in front of Talleyrand Park and some of these other places.
So in order to discuss this, we would need a motion to suspend the ordinance of all food truck sales on public roads by food trucks for the duration of the COVID-19 emergency declaration.
Someone make a motion.
I'll make that motion, Brockville.
Second,
I'll
anyone? That was Gina?
Yeah.
Okay, Gina and Thompson.
Yes.
Gina Thompson.
Joanne, I'd like to speak to this.
Go ahead.
That email came to me, and I think I sent it to Ralph and sent it to you guys and asked you to review it. I just want to be clear that the request is, I think, as Ralph accurately stated, that the request is to not have the food trucks on the borough streets or on borough properties like parks and that kind of thing. He's not requesting, and I don't think the borough has the say-so on this anyhow, if they set up like in the parking lot at Big Spring Spirits or up at the school like they have in the past. So I don't want to ban food trucks from the entire borough, and I don't think we can if they want to park on somebody's private parking lot. So just to be clear before we get into this discussion.
Tom, the motion was on the public roads in town. It was not on private property.
All right, I just want to make sure because there was some earlier discussion that would be the entire borough. Not at this meeting, but prior to.
Plus, may I say something?
Go ahead, Mike.
You have an ordinance that says they can't park within X number of feet.
150 feet.
150 feet of a existing brick and mortar restaurant. Are we not enforcing that, or what's?
Well, that's a good question. I obviously saw some violations over the weekend of that, and they're clearly within less feet to a nearby restaurant over the weekend. When we created the ordinance, we did not provide or put in a local permit requirement, only state permits. So, we don't know exactly when they're going to show up and when they're going to leave.
Well, if they show up in a place that's within the 150 feet, can't we give them a ticket or something?
Yeah, I guess, we'll have to ask the mayor to enforce that, but I can't tell you if anybody got warnings. I just happened to be driving through the intersection by Talleyrand Park and saw, at least one or two.
I believe that if they're parking on the High Street Bridge, that's more than 150 feet from the two nearest restaurants. But if they're off the edge of the bridge, then they are in violation.
If it was down closer to the train station, I don't think it'd make the 150 feet, but it'd be close.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The owners of Brazilian Munchies live in my ward. They live about a block from me. I can't support anything that denies them when they're property owners and they pay local tax. I feel like they should have the right to, take advantage of public streets.
As long as they're within the ordinance.
As long as they're within the ordinance. The letter that we received points out that some of these people don't pay local taxes. Well, they do. And they're all of the food trucks that have supported DBI, like they are Bellefonte area food trucks, and they are great boosters of downtown fundraising initiatives that we take. So I understand the need to not compete. However, if you read the Sunday paper or this weekend's paper, you saw that there was a big article about food trucks and about the support they're getting from the community because Honestly, we live in a town that has more pizza shops per capita than probably most. And I love pizza. Pizza and tacos, top two foods, but like, that's not Brazilian stew or barbecue. So our residents the residents that I spoke to since seeing this letter have overwhelmingly been pro food truck. When I talk to friends my age or younger, they are often applaud Bellefonte for being so progressive and allowing food trucks in our area. So I personally feel like the ordinance stands on itself. However, I think that if it would make other council members more comfortable, we could institute a permit. If you are a Bellefonte resident, you are waived from that. But if you are outside of our area, if you do not have a mailing address here, do a permit that's either daily or monthly or seasonal. And that way, at least they're contributing somehow to our area.
That would have to be done through revision of the ordinance. Am I not correct?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think our choice is either suspend it or look at, right now, or look at further amendments, which will take a longer period of time.
Well, Melissa, this is the mayor. I'm looking for a solution that will be a compromise that will appease both the food trucks and the borough hard storefront restaurants. So
how about we, not to interrupt you, Mayor, how about we do a measurement down Ram Park area, see how it applies with the ordinance.
Okay.
There.
All right.
I agree with Ralph. This is getting too sticky. This COVID-19 is, we hope, a one-time thing in this year, and hopefully sometime in 2021 we'll get back to a normal procedure. We haven't had trouble with this bricks and mortar and food trucks in the past. Let's not put regulation and rules in place that waste our time and others' time. Not waste, but take up our time when there's I have to say, other important issues. If they follow the guidelines that are in place right now, I think we'll be okay.
Right.
So that's my opinion.
Oh, I guess the question I would have is, do we, between the brick and mortar and the food trucks, unless the people operating the businesses live in town, what real revenue, tax revenue do we get, or what is the difference in the tax revenue that we're going to see as a borough between it being a food truck or being a brick and mortar restaurant? I mean, is it primarily we're getting real estate tax on the brick and mortar building? I don't know how much money we make off of the business profit.
It's indirect, as Melissa was indicating. If the food truck owners happen to live in the borough, that's how we get money, or get something out of it. Otherwise, we get nothing out of it.
Well, but I mean, but even if it was a brick and mortar restaurant owner, if they didn't live in the borough,
well, they're paying for a building, they're heating it, they're maintaining it, they're taking care of it through their revenue sources. They're paying taxes on, somebody's paying taxes on the property, whether it's land or tenant.
right?
So we do reap money that way.
Right, but it's sort of, we're not seeing, if the business owner of either one doesn't live locally, it's really, we're back at whatever the commercial real estate value is based on the size of the property. So I say we keep with the current ordinance. Changing it's not going to really change our tax revenue, and it's just shifting the rules a little bit because of the current environment we're in.
Yes, Randy.
My concern is the support of the brick and mortars. I get the trucks are mobile. There are other private areas they can go. I'm not saying we need to ban them from the streets, but I really think that we owe something to the businesses in the downtown restaurants who have come out and found ways to keep their stores open and provide meals to residents of Bellefonte who want to partake in whatever meal that whatever restaurant they're going to. Otherwise, they could be closed, and we might not, if restaurant stays closed too long, you might not have that restaurant back. And we know, it wasn't that long ago, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, there's still people in Bellefonte because they're coming to those restaurants. And, we've lost all that even coming into Bellefonte. So, I think it would be best, even if we don't do anything except maintain our ordinance as it states, but still promote our downtown restaurants to our residents and encourage them using our downtown restaurants. Hey, food trucks are food trucks, and people like a change, and so that you still have your choices. But I think it's, even if we put some kind of article together to promote the downtown residents, that would be a help.
Mike?
Is there a motion?
Yes, the motion is to suspend the ordinance for all food sales on public roadways by food trucks for the duration of the COVID-19.
Well, I'd like to call the motion.
Okay, anybody oppose? Seeing none, all in favor of this motion? All opposed?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. I have heard the possibility of doing a second motion to review our current ordinance for possibility of adding a local license for food trucks in the borough. If someone wants to do that, you can, otherwise we'll move on.
I don't know if that's necessary now. I mean, the ordinance is, it is what it is.
Okay,
And, maybe at a later date, when we have some more time, that would be a time to look at it.
okay,
Let's move on.
okay.
Next item in the packet is a press release from PennDOT about the Route 26, I-80, I-99 interchange. There's actually two press releases. One finishing up or completing the project that started in 2019. They're going to install a traffic light at the intersection of 26 and I-80. Then there's news of the next very, very large phase, $50+ million phase is going to be starting soon. They have the low bidder lined up. I'm sure they're doing the paperwork now, but that will be starting up in June, I believe. So there'll be a lot of congestion there and activity there. But the good news is the project is moving forward. It'll be certainly very beneficial for Bellefonte. So that's there for your information. The next item is just a reminder of the brush and grass collection fee that was instituted really in the 2020 budget. So in our budget preparations and discussions and approvals, we added a $10 per year fee for anyone who would like to have the brush and grass service for the season. So it's $10 for the season. We try to get the word out early in the year, in the spring, but some people obviously have not heard about it. So we're trying to emphasize again, there's a $10 fee. It's new this year for the service. If you put a container out and it's not picked up, it's probably because you have not paid the fee. Just simply call the borough office and we will get you signed up and get the service provided for you and put your address into the pickups and everything. It's still on Wednesdays throughout the season. Again, if you have any questions, just call the borough office, or to get signed up, call the borough office.
Ralph,
Yes.
Ralph, it's $10 per container, not
Yes,
just.
I'm sorry, you're right. $10 per container for the season. It's just a one-time $10 fee. We can put that on your utility bill or on your account. You don't-
And there's a one-time fee for getting a container.
Yes, there's a $60 fee for purchasing the container if you don't have one. And again, we can put that right on your bill. You don't have to run in and pay before you get signed up for the service.
I'd like
Ralph?
to comment on that. Sorry, Deb, that we've had many calls I have, and I appreciate the borough staff accommodating folks who forgot to pay the $10 or threw the postcard in the waste can, not knowing, they'll bill me for this. But I appreciate all the work you have done, Matt Allman has done, and Don has done, answering these calls for irate folks who said, why aren't you picking up my grass can?
Right.
So thanks very much for doing that. Beyond the call of duty again.
No problem.
Deb?
Yes, Ralph, I have just a clarification. For
Sure.
customers who have the bin and have paid their $10 fee for this year, can we also put out bundled materials if they're less than 4 feet in length? Or
Well,
does it have to be material in the bin?
we have asked to try to keep the material in the bin, to try to have like a cutoff somewhere.
Okay,
Because sticking out of the lid, we're okay with that. But the idea was to put it in the bin, and then our trucks lift that container up, so we don't have to worry about the excess weight or anything like that.
okay, thank you very much.
While we're talking about it, I just want to quickly mention, maybe it's down here in our notes later, the compost facility for anyone who has a large amount of brush or would have the means to take brush, to our compost facility. We're open basically 6 days a week, Monday through Friday. I think Monday through Thursday, it's like 6 a.m. to 2. Friday, it's, I believe, 6 to 1. And Saturday, about 8 to just a few minutes before noon. If people, want to take large amounts of brush, they're welcome to go down. We did away with the key deposit, at least temporarily, because of the COVID issues. So it's more than available. It's very easy to take things down if you have the means to do so.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Ralph,
Yes.
I want to admit that I'm one of the ones who was confused
Okay.
from the mailing, because I've been getting brush picked up since the program started, and I assumed that the bill was going to be, or the extra $20 that I use would have been billed in my refuse bills. And I called into Kathy just questioning about it because I got the first pickup, I didn't miss 2, and so I was a little confused about the way it was written, and it looked to me like it was for the new folks coming on, and I was just confused. But she said,
Sorry about that. I mean, it happens. So.
I was not on an irate call.
Okay, glad to hear that.
Along with the kudos, Ralph, is as you and I talked, we had one gentleman from the borough staff, and I think on the first round, he was picking 800 or 900 of those bins up.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
one person on our staff bearing that full load, and that's our borough staff trying to accommodate our borough residents. I know we all paid the $10, or eventually we will pay them, but that's quite a workload for one gentleman.
No doubt. It was
To
a
handle that. So
tough day for him.
yeah, thanks.
Sure, thank you. All right, we'll keep moving here. Brush grass. There's a letter we received about the roll-on Raiders banner, that normally goes up in the fall. Letters here before us. Of course, there's always a lot of uncertainty with everything now, but they want to go ahead and get permission through the borough.
So we need a motion to approve the roll-on Raiders banner across Allegheny Street, South Allegheny Street conditional.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second it.
And they need to provide us with the dates desired, the payment.
They just said fall. I'm thinking like early September,
The application that we have to send to PennDOT has specific dates on it, which is why I'm saying dates.
We'll follow up if that's all right.
Yeah, let's approve it
That's fine.
with the information to come forward.
Yep.
Conditionally, after the dates are received.
Agreed.
And with the, and payment of fees and acceptance by PennDOT. Who's
Yeah.
making the motion?
I'll make it.
I thought Ralph or John did, but
I think it was already made by John.
yeah, John made
Yeah,
it.
we
Okay.
just have to vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Joanne mentioned something. I hate to bring it up because we're
Oh, go ahead.
correspondence. You mentioned fee. We have not charged a banner fee for years. I mean, probably,
okay,
even though it's in the ordinance, we have not charged it. So
okay,
I'm just being honest with you.
okay, then we need to follow precedent, and I just
Yes,
know that it's on the
is-
application, because I had
it
to
is-
sign it,
yes.
and that's where I saw it.
it's there, but we've not charged it in probably, well, decades.
Okay. Okay, so it's just a matter of writing the word waived on that line of
Yes.
the application. Okay,
Yep.
All in
any
favor?
discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Go ahead. Next one?
Next one is a request from another downtown restaurant. They're looking to have 2 temporary parking spaces, High Street, right, adjacent to the restaurant there, due to a curbside service and those kinds of things. It's there for your approval or consideration.
I'll make the motion to approve the request by Governor's Pub to reserve 2 parking spaces on High Street
I'll second it.
for their delivery or curbside delivery of meals.
Was that Prendergast?
Johnson.
Johnson and Prendergast.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is a 15-minute parking?
No, I think it's just
No.
pull in and pull out.
Yeah, pull in, they get their food, and then they leave. So they'll just put
Okay,
some plastic signs or laminated signs over the posts.
Although
Okay.
I would like to see our borough police monitor that to make sure no employees, as a comment to the motion, are taking advantage of that. But they definitely deserve to have that, those spaces reserved for them.
We'll alert Eric, our parking guy.
Great, thank you, Mayor.
Randy has his hand raised.
discussion? Seeing none? All,
Wait.
Deb has-
Or, I'm sorry,
Wait,
Deb.
there's-
Deb.
oh, go ahead,
Deb,
Randy.
or sorry.
Deb, oh.
Randy and Deb.
You're mute.
Can I just throw something into the mix here? We're currently under complimentary parking throughout the borough for the
2 hours, 2
2
hours.
hours.
2 hours. On High Street between Spring and Water, on the north side where the pub is, there are 5 parking spaces. 2 of those meters are gold. They're 15-minute meters, and the other 3 are gray. And I know that the 15 minutes aren't being enforced right now, but it seems to me that this area is pretty wide open.
I think they're just looking for guarantees that it's open.
Well, how do you guarantee that?
I don't know.
You know, that's a time of day and a traffic function
You
thing.
sign them as
Yeah.
delivery only spaces, not for parking. Just,
Yeah, I think this
Go
is
ahead, Gina.
something that other businesses have requested. I feel it's pretty reasonable. They're likely, and I can follow up with them from DBI's perspective if you'd like, but likely what they'll do is just put signs saying Governor's Pub, curbside pickup, and they'll have a sign there similar to what some of the other businesses have been permitted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a question or, I understand them wanting to have 2 spots. I'm okay with that, but I'm wondering why they're not using the open space off the street that they have available. Unless that's for their employees.
That's probably their employees, Randy. They wouldn't cater there.
And then I don't remember granting approval for, and correct me if I'm just missing it, for steak burgers.
I did that, Randy. I
Okay.
gave approval. It's one of those things that came up in between meetings, and I felt it was necessary to take that kind of action.
No
So,
problem. I just saw the signs and
yes,
I
realized
agree.
that
Ralph, good job.
thank you. And I was just listening to all this. We really should maybe, I don't know, consider, I'm sure Bonfados is probably doing something identical, whether they have permission or not, but I would take a look at all the restaurants. If they need a couple of spaces with a couple laminated signs, why not?
Yeah, Ralph, I'm okay if you just make that decision and just
Yeah,
let us know. So if we get questioned about it.
sounds good. Gina, if you want to get the word out,
Sure.
So
Yeah, I
we-
can do that.
So do you want to expand the motion for any restaurant for curbside pickup?
Two
That
spaces.
way it makes it official.
I think that's a
Sure.
good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
2 spaces.
Okay, Brandy makes a motion, substitute motion, who's seconding it?
I'll second that, Johnson.
Johnson, okay.
Is that for 2 spaces?
Yes.
yeah, I think so.
Right, Bill and Johnson.
Now, if those restaurants decide to have their delivery people using those spaces, that's up to them.
I
Sure.
guess it's going to hurt them whether they, themselves, so why would they do that?
Yeah,
Well, that
well,
is pickup.
I
That is
remember we
pickup.
had a request not too long ago. Yeah.
Well, let's just leave that for them to figure out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Let's give it
Yeah.
a go of what we have.
Right.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Any discussion on
I-
the substitute amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the substitute amendment?
Aye,
Aye.
aye, 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 aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. So the substitute amendment becomes the main motion. Now, all in favor of the now main motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. So Ralph, you have the say so to go ahead and do this for any restaurant that wants to stay.
Thank you.
And I'll, Ralph, I'll follow up with an email to business owners and a DBI newsletter to let them know.
Appreciate that, Gina. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
The last item, believe it or not, under written communications is a CDBG information packet. CDBG is Community Development Block Grant Funding. My lights went out again. Hang on a second. There we go. Sorry that my lights go out. Anyway, Dawn's gonna talk about what's in the packet. It's just a general information packet, I guess. Gonna fix my light here.
Just briefly, as Ralph mentioned, I more or less just put that in the packet as an FYI, but there are a couple things I wanted to point out to you. One of them just, it provides the 2020 allocation. You can see Bellefonte Borough's allocated $115,190 in the 2020 allocation. It does talk a little bit about the COVID-19 funding. Found out a little bit more today about the timeline on that. We anticipate the application for COVID-19 funding to be due sometime in July, but we'll have ours in August, in June, according to Matt Milliron. And he thinks that the funding will come in shortly thereafter. So he's anticipating having the funding in July. Again, I will point out that this COVID funding can be used for rent, water, sewer, electric, natural gas payments. And in addition, there's going to be a phase 2 that's going to provide more funding for municipalities work on COVID-19. The only other thing I wanted to point out about 2020 that I thought was interesting in the write-up is that if you looked at DCDs using the following priorities in selecting CDBG competitive applications. Now, in the past, we've not really gone after competitive money, but the number one priority is water and sewer projects that impact the health and safety of residents. We not only have a water project that we could go for some competitive funds for, we've tried to get grant money a number of times for some water projects and that actually fall in our LMI area. So I think that we'd have a good opportunity there to grab some money and maybe do some things that we haven't been able to do thus far.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up with what Don said. Matt was on a Zoom meeting at 3 o'clock this afternoon, just before the bid openings occurred. And what he said is that this usually CDBG funds are limited to people who live in the 2 census districts. The special COVID one would be open to anyone who meets the LMI requirements, low to middle income, and it would be for up to 3 months rent, utilities, and shelter. So just want to know that this would be available for the entire borough for people who are struggling at this point. And any other questions on this packet?
No.
Okay, there is one more piece of correspondence that came. I don't know if all the council members got it, but it was a letter from the Center County Office of Emergency Services. There's going to be a virtual meeting on May 28th to discuss the planning, mitigation, floodplain management, and disaster preparedness to update the Center County's hazard mitigation plan. I will scan in a copy of my letter, send it to Ralph and Don, and have them sent out to the rest of the council members in case they haven't seen it yet, so that you can all sign up if you'd like. That's it. Any other correspondence that anyone has received? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any public comment, Ralph or Don?
No, we have no public comment.
Okay, Mayor Wilson, it's now your turn.
Oh, hey, okay. Thank you very much. I just want to remind people that we are still doing a 2-hour courtesy parking in downtown. We ask you to comply with that. We have suspended the alternate street parking. If you'll notice, there's bags over those signs so that you do not have to move your car back and forth while that temporarily has been suspended. I'd like to thank Bill Whitmer's mother for making 70 masks for the borough employees and the police department. So that was a nice step up on her part.
And Don is modeling it right now.
Dawn, can we get a shot of Dawn Halderman?
Blow it up, blow it up.
All right, well, in the meantime, I'd also like to just announce that the Pennsylvania State Mayors Association had a meeting on Saturday and canceled their state convention in the King of Prussia on July 16th through the 18th. And they are exploring having that convention, a modified version done via Zoom, which I don't recommend, but that's up to them to explore it. Other than that, I don't think that I have anything else that hasn't already been covered by somebody else this evening. So thank you.
Joanne.
Any questions for the mayor?
I have a question. I have a question for the mayor.
Go ahead.
Our famous radio announcer, Tor Michael's show is back on the air. That's this is a sort of an advertisement for that show. But anyhow, it's on from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And our delightful mayor was kind enough. No, seriously, Mayor Wilson calls in frequently and gives a report on Bellefonte Borough and tries to alert our citizens and county residents of the activities going on in the borough. And I just wanted to thank the mayor for his participation in that show.
Well, thank you, Douglas. And as I had told you in a text message, I think it's time for you to call in and give your opinions as well. Come on, Doug, step up.
Okay, put me on the list.
Yep. Well, I look forward to hearing you tomorrow.
No, seriously, Tom, I think you do a great job with that. I'm
All right. Well, I
really
appreciate
glad.
it, Doug. And thanks for the reminder on that as well. Between you and the commander, you got me going. All right. Thanks.
Any other
Anything
questions?
else? I think that's it.
Okay. So next is my report.
I thought you already gave that whole long report of all the COVID stuff.
No, this is something else.
All right.
More COVID stuff.
Besides being on Borough Council, I also serve as chair of the Center County Advisory Council of the Human Relations Commission. As part of that, the duties for that position, I attend a monthly meeting that is put together, is called the Interagency Task Force on Community Relations. It's organized by the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office, and the Pennsylvania State Police. At the one that was held on April 23rd, there were several announcements that were made that I thought the public should know about. The first one was that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has postponed the enforcement date for Real ID from October 1st, 2020 to October 1st, 2021. Basically, that means that you don't have to have the Real ID or a passport to get on an airplane or to get federal government properties for an extra year. The second one is that PennDOT is giving extensions on pictures for the driver's license renewal until COVID-19 is over. And you can find out that information at penndot.gov on their coronavirus link when you do a search. The third one is that the Attorney General's Office has released several fact sheets regarding hate crimes and issues related to price gouging, housing, and unemployment. You can go to their website at attorneygeneral.gov to get those. They include Pennsylvania hate crime resources, a press release related to price gouging, information on both the federal and the PA CARES package, and your unemployment rights and resources. And then the PHRC, the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, has said that there have been increased incidences of discrimination in housing, public accommodations, and employment, mostly focused on grocery, retail, and drugstores, hospitals, and healthcare providers, banks. Anyway, basically what they're saying, the types of complaints have basically dealt with minority businesses, either against Asian and Latina restaurants and food vendors, or a refusal to serve Latina and Asian people. So if you hear of anything like that, please contact the PHRC. That's it. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Council members, do anyone have any comments or?
Ralph, do you want to comment on the furniture donation from Caparel, or you want me to?
Oh, yeah.
Since you're the one that got it, why don't you do it?
Yes, I was going to just let Doug know or introduce Doug's behind the scenes and then let Doug say a few words. But Doug was gracious enough to make the call to Caparella Furniture. We could possibly get some pieces of furniture donated for our lobby that we're creating here in the Borough building. And lo and behold, it worked out. You know, Doug was successful in getting 2 pieces of very, very nice furniture, brand new. And I wanted to, definitely say thank you to Doug and then let Doug say whatever he wants to say.
Well done, Douglas.
Good
Well,
job.
I would just like to thank Dave Caparel and Carol and the employees, Ron Idarola at Caparel Furniture. They support Bellefonte Borough an awful lot, and it was awfully kind of them to make the donation. And if the council would approve it, I'd like to write a letter of thanking them for their donation to the borough. And if possible, maybe a little sign in the lobby that says furniture from Caparella Brothers, if that's appropriate.
Yes.
That's
Motion, Doug.
yeah, I can make it a motion.
I'll second. Brackbill.
Johnson and Brackbill. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. By the way,
Thank you.
I went into the borough building to sign some paperwork on Friday. The furniture was there. I took a test seat on the sofa. It's rather comfy. So you did a good job, Doug.
Well, good. That's Dave and Carol Caparel. So thank them. If you're go in the store and thank them if you get
Thank
the
you.
chance.
Very
Right.
nice.
Moving on to old business.
Let me just sort of go down the list for you. Of course, the number one item is the sustainability presentations on the reuse of the Armory building out there. And, those presentations, we actually received the PowerPoints today, and I forwarded them out to everybody. But if you get a chance the next week or two, take a look at them.
Mhm.
You know, they're very well done. They did a lot of the groups that did this was part of the sustainability projects at Penn State. They spent a semester viewing, looking at the site, and then creating very beautiful renderings of what could be done there. So, you know, we would try to absorb that, look at some of the costs, and then probably see how we can incorporate some of the best ideas or maybe a little bit of each from the 6 groups in total. That's what I would have to offer.
Yeah. I thought the presentations were excellent. The only thing that they didn't have, and Ralph just touched on it, was because there was no one in their class that dealt with cost, they were unable to provide us with cost estimates.
Yeah. Alrighty, but yeah, take a look at them. I think you'll appreciate the work that they did. The next item is a leftover from the last meeting. It's a resolution revising our fee schedule for the Governor's Park ball field rental, and we'll have it adopted into our fee schedule.
So I need a motion to approve resolution number 050420-01 to add the daily fee for the ball field park at Governor's Park to our 2020 fee
I'll
schedule.
make the motion to approve the resolution number 050420-01.
I'll second it.
Johnson and Walker, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Moving on.
Good job, Joanne and Melissa. Good job.
Just a reminder that the Bellefonte cruise scheduled for June 19th and 20th has been canceled, along with many of the normal, regular, special events. But just a reminder that one was canceled as well. Next item, we're just going over some of these things to try to make sure people are aware. The official community recognized yard sale is it usually happens in the middle of May, about the 15th or 16th of the month. That Friday and Saturday has also been canceled, along with the following week of bulk waste pickup.
I thought it was just postponed.
Well, postponed, thank you. You're right, it's postponed. We have not set a new date yet. When we come probably in August, we'll start looking at what's happening with the situation and look at a date for, sometime that works for, let's say, the majority of people. But our goal right now is, yes, just to postpone it till early fall or some period in that time frame.
Good, because I'm getting a pile.
Okay. Yes.
Ralph, can we outline why we made that decision, since there has been discussion?
Sure.
There's been feedback.
Well, yeah, we've certainly had people questioning why we made the decision. I would quickly say that 2 reasons. And we have a 4-person refuse crew. They are cut in half right now. We're only using 2 people per week to do the entire operations. All the other departments, water, streets, all those other departments that we have that we borrow from them during this event are also cut in half. We're trying to do that on purpose so that we don't, if someone would happen to get sick, they're away from the majority of people, or we have people we can call in and bring back, maintain operations. So definitely the month of May, that's in the picture. It might go on longer than that. But May is definitely not on the table for bringing our crews back and doing our regular normal business right now. The other reason is we had persons concerned because of the lockdown that is in effect now till this Friday. People who would ordinarily have to hire somebody to get things to the curb were not able to get people, to hire people, with all the precautions being taken, and then the lockdown, all those actions were stopped. So we had a concerned citizen voice that they would not be able to get things to the curb. They couldn't do this themselves. We had a high population of older people in the borough. So we felt it was in the best interest to hold off for May.
If members of the community wanted to have a yard sale, are they permitted?
They're permitted. That's why I try to emphasize in the beginning, the official recognized community-wide yard sale as being postponed. But citizens can judge for themselves if they want to have their own. They're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions about the yard sale and bulk waste pickup? Seeing none.
Next
Go
up,
ahead.
we just have a note here. We are working on a liability public access agreement involving the waterfront property, which, the Borough/Industrial Development Authority sold in December of 2019. That land, it looks like parkland. We think it, we see it as parkland, and most of our citizens see it that way. So we think it's in the best interest to allow public access and work for a liability agreement that absolves or liability if someone would happen to fall on the property owners would have some protection. And this would allow the public to use the brick sidewalk. If they happen to cross the grass or walk their dog on the grass, it would be okay if something happened. So it's just a protection and a simple agreement that we're working with the property owners on. Within a week or two, we'll have it fairly.
I actually believe I signed that on Friday.
I don't think so, because
there was something I signed.
all right, I don't think it was that, because we got a draft and we made a couple comments and then I sent it to our insurance agent.
Okay.
So that's where it's at. It's in our insurance agent. Once
Okay.
back, we'll make a couple changes and then send it over to the property owners for their review. But it's moving forward. Just a note that old business item, we have an opening at the wastewater treatment plant and an operator, and that those interviews were held on Friday, and we're working through the process involved in that, and nothing new other than we're working through the process. The last item is a note really for the Finance Committee and Council regarding a question on the bulk water fund that was involved with the last meeting. Basically, it's a period of time when I think the property was sold involving the waterfront property and how it was recorded into the 2019 accounts and the 2020 accounts is my understanding.
Yeah, I want to thank Lori for making that clear.
Yes.
That the money came in 2019, but the money that we sent out based on that money coming in was done in 2020. So that's why they didn't match up. So moving on to new business.
Okay, new business. I'm going to probably let Dawn summarize this. It's information on the revolving grant terms and conditions. I make a note here. It's important to emphasize this. This is state funds that come to the borough that we in turn give or loan to a business, in this case, the Gamble Mill. We would not otherwise get the funds. The Gamble Mill applied for the funds, but the way the state does this process as a money, as a grant to Bellefonte Borough. We turn around and loan it to the property owner. So that's in the works, and this is the terms and conditions related to that. Dawn?
Yeah, Ralph. Ralph pretty much just said, exactly what this is. You can see in your in the packet tonight that we put a draft commitment letter to the Virgilios. A couple months ago, I think we got permission from council to have Rod work with Rod Beard in drafting this for us. Just to summarize, to get the $500,000 grant from the state, which we are ready to submit. As soon as we get through this process, we are ready to submit to the state and actually get that money. We are planning to loan, or would like to loan, the Virgilios $485,000 of the $500,000. The other $15,000 we would hold back for administrative purposes, and then the attorney fees and things of that nature. We set the interest rate at 0.75%. In this instance, there's an interest-only period for 24 months. This is designed to allow the Virgilios to complete the construction and stabilize the project before having to start a repayment of principal. Starting on the 25th month following disbursement of the loan, the principal will be amortized over a 20-year period, but the loan has a maturity date at the 12-year point. So it's really 10 years following the 24-month interest-only period. So their monthly interest payments will be a little bit less because of the 20-year amortization, but they will be required to pay off the balance that remains due at the 12-year point. So essentially, when they get to the 12-year point, it'd be a balloon payment to pay it off. In the interim, we would use the interest that we do receive to loan that out to other interested parties in the borough that would come and have a project that they would want us to fund.
So I need a motion to proceed with the execution of the revolving grant fund with the owners of the Gamble Mill.
I'll make that motion.
Prendergast
I'll second it.
and Clayton.
I need to recuse myself.
Okay. Get the recusal form from Ralph or Don and fill it out later. You don't have it in front of you, I'm sure. I have a question regarding this. I read the thing first of all, this is the loan that DC provides for historic preservation, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. If so, I didn't see anything written in this contract indicating that the owners of the Gamble Mill must follow the Harbor Ordinance and the Secretary of the Interior standards for archaeology and historic preservation. Note that this also appears to be required in this loan under the CLG designation as well, according to the CLG document that I found on my computer.
I would just say, Joanne, all we have here that I have in the packet tonight is just a draft commitment letter. Rod is still working on all the loan documents. Once the council agrees to the terms as written here, then he can finalize the loan documents where you will find all that other information that you just
mentioned. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. So you can go ahead with it.
Thank you.
Next item is also for Don. He is involved in the bid process that took place today for the Talleyrand Park Phase 2 bridge walkway along the railroad tracks. Don?
Very, very excited. Ralph probably is as well, because back in the 90s when there was a study done on Talleyrand Park, this particular project was a part of that long-range plan, finally coming to fruition. And not only that, we ended up today getting 5 local construction bidders We had a bid from John Spearley Construction, HRI Inc., John Nastis Construction, Lycoming Supply, Glen O. Hallbaker. Jason Shura is our engineer. He's with Stifler McGraw out of Hollidaysburg, and the reason he's the primary engineer is because he works with the railroad. The way he set this up was a base bid for the pedestrian bridge walkway with an option one. The option one was to lay the base, excuse me, to lay the base as with timber. Option two was to lay the base with a fiber reinforced polymer, a little bit better than the timber, would last twice as long. And then option three was an add-on that we would, where the new part of Talleyrand Park, where we currently have our figure eight walkway, it would be creating an asphalt pad from the figure eight down to the bridge. So we put that as an option because going into this, those that may remember a couple years ago when we did phase one on the extension of the platform, we initially had this particular project. It was all bundled as one, but steel prices at that point were fluctuating significantly, and our bids came in anywhere between 550,000 to over $1 million. So we de-scoped that particular project, extended the platform, and then Jason has kind of modified the drawings a little bit to put this back out. So to give you an idea, today we got, as far as the base bid, Lycoming Supply, who was the contractor on the platform extension, they came in with the lowest bid today on the base bid at $184,325. Their option one, that would be the timber to put down as the base for the walkway. That's $31,500. So their total bid would be $215,825 if we chose option one. John Spearley Construction base bid was $235,887 with an option one of $41,074 for a total of $276,961. So essentially, the low bidder was Lycoming Supply. What we need to do here this evening is make a determination. Now, I will say this, on CDBG money, we're using multiple year funding. I have approximately about $225,000 sitting here right now to do the project. So I was hoping that it wouldn't really exceed that. Now I'll say this, however, we do have some flexibility with CDBG because we have admin money that we haven't pulled down yet. So I can always use additional admin money and apply it to the project and not pay admin. Might be able to get it up another $15,000 or $20,000 there if council wanted to go with the fiber reinforced polymer. That would bump that up. It would be $184,325 plus $57,500 instead of $31,500. So you'd be looking at another $26,000 or so, an additional 26. I could probably get pretty close using the CDBG funds if we wanted to do that. I would really like to include option three at $16,000 so that, I mean, it's not, I think the borough, I think we could do it probably for half of that price in-house, but you start getting into other things that I don't like to get into when you're mixing with a contractor, another contractor. You know, if there's any issues, then there becomes who's liable for it. You know, if we can somehow find a way to have one single contractor do the entire project, it would, in my opinion, be optimal. So there are a couple things council could consider. I'd like you to consider the base bid, $184,325. Option 2, the fiber reinforced polymer, it'll last 50 years rather than 25 years. And just like where we are with the suspension bridge right now with the wood walkway, how beat up it is and so forth. And then option 3, the 16,000. So if we did that, we would need to come up with a little bit of money. I'm thinking somewhere between 30 and 40,000. And you know where the deep pockets always are. It's in the bulk water. That's where we have our project funding. So that would be, I'm not saying that's what you have to do. That's a consideration. If you don't want to tap into any of that, then we could always, I think if we did the base bid with option 1, we could afford it with what we currently have sitting there right now with CDBG.
I like at least option 2.
So we need a motion, and I don't think Don quite made this clear, is that they have not been reviewed by the engineer yet to make sure that they meet all of the qualifications. And he's supposed to be doing the next day or so. So I think the best way to do this motion is to have Jason Sir review the bids and then have him be given the ability to accept the lowest qualifying bid based on his review.
I'll make that one.
I know Don probably touched on this, but time is of the essence. There's a small to do the project because of the streams and the work around the streams. We really need to keep the project moving if we're going to make the time frames that we're working.
Yeah.
I'd like to make the motion with Lycoming Supply for the 184,325, and then the option is it 2 for the polymer base added to the project. And then what was the third thing, Don?
That would be the walkway from the figure.
Yeah, from the figure 8 to the new walkway, all as one package. I agree with this isn't part of my motion, but I agree with Don that once you start mixing contractors and staff, there's always that gray area where the contractor says, whoops, that wasn't us, that was the borough's responsibility. And the borough will say, well, that's the contract. And we get into a match between the two of us. Just do the whole package. It's not worth, it's not worth.
Don, let me ask a question before I get a second to this motion, just to make sure we're okay. If Jason does not qualify Lycoming Supply, how does that affect this motion?
I'll put it this way: if he doesn't, if Lycoming doesn't qualify, which I'm 99% sure they will, but if they don't, I would wait and come back to council 2 weeks from now, because the second bid is
much higher.
Much higher. Yeah, I probably would have to go back and look at all of our CDBG, talk to Matt Milliron about seeing if how we could work with some county funds and so forth. I don't want to even explore that at this point. I think we got ourselves. We already know they've already completed a project. They've already worked for us. They know CDBG. I think we'll be fine.
Okay, so I think what you're saying then is that Doug's is a conditional motion based on the qualification.
Yes, Doug's would be conditional based on the engineer's review and approval.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, Johnson and 2 seconds.
I'll second. That was me.
Okay, Johnson and Thompson. Discussion?
Nope, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah, move
So
forward.
seeing none, we're voting on conditionally granting the bid to Lycoming Supply for the base plus option 2 and the
3.
And the asphalt.
Yeah, option 2 and 3.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Great. Thank you. I'm pleased.
Ralph, if I could just add one more thing, a separate issue, but this is a FYI. HRI will start paving restoration on the following streets this week. 136 North Wilson Street, 421 Willowbank Street, 710 Willowbank Street, and 231 East Burroughs Street. This is for Columbia Gas work that's been done in the borough. So if you get any calls, that's what it's in. That's what it's for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Okay, the next item of new business is a note about the Penn State doing a data for action study called Center County Community Cohort Study. In summary, it's about looking at how faculty, staff, and students interact throughout Center County. They're obviously trying to make the most preparations that they can with students coming back, faculty coming back to work, given the circumstances and the crisis that we're all facing. So this study, has Penn State professors involved. They're asking the municipalities, county government, school district administrators to help get the first round general survey out to as many Center County residents as possible. And then later on, second study will be more specific and maybe more of a commitment for volunteers to help with that. But at this round, we're trying to get the word out. There is a legitimate Penn State study that's being undertaken. They would like to use the month of May to try to get the word out. So it's there before you, and we make sure you're aware of it.
Are they asking for a motion of support by council to reach out to our citizenry?
Well, it's implied for sure, that they're asking for the borough to help get the word out and express that it is a legitimate study. They're trying to do their best to look at how interaction works with the residents, the students, everyone that interacts with Penn State, the main campus, and how if someone was contracted or had the COVID-19, how would that interact with our community and so on. So,
okay, so in that case, we need a motion of support by Bellefonte Borough Council to reach out to our citizenry, to ask them to participate in the COVID-19 study to assess the financial impact of the pandemic on our community, the perceptions of the stay-at-home orders, and an initial estimate amount of undetected COVID-19 in Center County.
Make the motion.
Prendergast,
Johnson will second it.
Johnson. Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Muted. What was the month? Let's see.
They'll be coming out, it'll be coming out in May. So
Yes.
I think what that means is we would put stuff on our website
Yeah.
to advertise it
yes.
and assist them however we can.
It broke up. I didn't catch the month. Thanks.
You're welcome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Great, passes. Anything else for the good of the cause? Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn to our executive session for personnel and real estate.
I'll make that motion, Eaton.
I will second that motion.
Eden and Prendergast, seeing no opposition, we're adjourned at 9:25.